Hey baddies, it's your girl Sham and I'm back with another video. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button so that you could be a baddie too. So I know today's scenery is a little bit different. Somebody in my house bought this big dumb speaker and it's in the basement, and every time the bass go boom, the house shakes. So I wanted to do a sit down video with the backdrop and you know the usual, but I had to come do it in my car today, so it's whatever. For today's video, I'm going to be talking about my new conch piercing as well as my double forward helix. I've never talked about those on this channel, so if that sounds interesting, stay tuned.
You got me twisted. You got me twisted.
Okay, so first I want to talk about my conch piercing. I'm going to try and show it to you guys. I'm going to cover my face so that hopefully it'll focus on it. Okay, whatever. Y'all could see, right? Y'all see that? Okay. So I got this done 2 days ago. Today's Saturday. I got it done on Thursday at Identity Body Piercing, which is in Chicago. So if you're from the Chicagoland area, definitely check them out. They are a piercing shop. They only do piercings, so they're very professional. They know what they're doing. I spent $90-something in total on this piercing. They did email me the receipt, so I'll go ahead and post the receipt so y'all can see how much I paid for what. The piercing was like between $25 and $35. I know the jewelry was like $50, and then I left a tip. I think I left like a 20% tip, so it was like $90-something. I'm not entirely too sure. I would give this, out of 10, I would give it a 3, to be honest with you. I was being very dramatic when she pierced it, but it actually did not hurt as bad as I thought it was going to. Honestly, I would say this one, my second, I got my forward helix done at the same time, so I would say the second piercing on my forward helix hurt worse than this. Having gotten this pierced, I would definitely get the other conch pierced. Like, it didn't hurt that bad to me. It was very sore and tender that day. It was kind of hot. If you've never had a piercing, the easiest way for me to describe it is if you've been outside in the cold for a long time, and then when you finally go inside and your ears get like overly hot and they kind of like burn, trying to put the heat back into them, that's what it felt like. But that was just for the first day. I ended up sleeping on this side that night. You're not supposed to do that, but I went to the store and I spent $30 on this nice traveling neck pillow. Not the cheap one with the beads, but it was like this nice memory foam one. I put it in a cotton pillowcase that I already own, and I make sure that my head is nicely tucked and that my ear is not having any pressure applied to it. And I've been able to sleep on this side for the last 2 nights actually, and I haven't had any problems. And I learned my lesson getting this done, to just go ahead and get the neck pillow and, you know, kind of put your head in it, especially if you are a side sleeper. Getting a neck pillow would just be essential for you. Let me think. It was only sore on Thursday. I slept on this side. You ain't supposed to do that, but I did it and I've been fine. It doesn't hurt at all. When I woke up on Friday, I actually forgot that I had gotten it done. Like, my ear does not hurt at all. Obviously, when I go to clean it, if I kind of bump it or hit it a little too hard, then it'll hurt a little bit, but other than that, I really don't even feel it. Wearing a mask, though, it does get a little irritated. Having the string, you don't realize how tight this string is sitting behind your ear until you have a piercing and your ear is already irritated, and now you have something that's making it worse. So what I do is I put this on regular. I take this side and I actually clip it behind my head with a duck clip to keep my mask from having to go behind my ear. So that's what I've been doing. If you don't have hair, then obviously you're gonna have to try to like tie it behind your head. It's not the end of the world, but it is something to keep in mind, getting a piercing, an ear piercing, especially during coronavirus time. And other than that, I just clean it at least twice a day with this saline solution that I bought from Target. Any place that has like allergy medication, they also sell saline solutions. People with allergies use it to like cleanse out all the gunk from their nose or whatever, but I use it for my piercings. They're gonna sell you the same stuff with a different name on it at the piercing shop for like $15 or $20. You go to the store and get it cheaper. So I'll post a picture of the cleaning solution that I clean my piercing with. And yeah, like I said, I clean it at least twice a day. If I go outside in public or something like that, then I'll clean it again whenever I get back in the house, just to be, you know, extra safe. But other than that, I haven't had no problems with this, no issues, no nothing. Yeah, and I love it. I have a 16 gauge barbell in it. I'm not sure of the length of it because it is longer than it needs to be to account for swelling. The gem is a 4mm gem. I was trying to get it the same size as my first lobe. I wear these studs all the time, so I was trying to get it to be the same size as that. It's a little bit bigger, but I have come to like the size of the jewelry. At first I was like, oh my god, that stud is too big. But if I would have got the 3mm, because they have 4mm, 3mm, I think 2.5, 2, and then, you know, 1.5, 1, something like that. If I would have got the 3mm, I think it would have been too small. And I like that this is big enough that you can obviously tell that I have my conch pierced, but at the same time, the ear to jewelry ratio is nice. It's not overpowering my ear, and it's not too small to where you could barely tell that I have it done. So I think the 4mm gem for my ear shape worked out perfectly. Is there anything else? I really, you know what? I don't know what she told me to do to clean these. I don't know if she even told me to use a saline solution or not, because she gave me the cleaning instructions before she pierced me, and obviously I was in my head about the piercing, like, oh my god, this is gonna hurt, like, what am I getting myself into, da 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 da. So everything that she told me was going in one ear and out the other. I honestly don't know if that's what she wanted me to do to clean this or not, but I'm not a piercing newbie, so not that I don't really care, but like, me personally, I don't really care what she was talking about, because I know what works for my body. If you're new to piercings, pay attention to what your piercer tells you. If you need to call back up there to get the instructions, do that. I'm not going to, but I did just want to make that note that, like, what I'm saying that I do to clean my jewelry with the saline solution from the store and just taking a Q-tip and running it around, those is my instructions. That's not the instructions that she gave me, I don't think. But anyway, let's talk about my double forward helix. So my double forward helix is 5 years old. I got this done a couple of days before I turned 20. I got this done when I was in college. If you go to Grand Valley, or you've ever been to Grand Valley, there's a piercing tattoo shop that's within walking distance from the school. They set me up. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna put their name out there, but they set me up. They pierced my double forward helix with 2 eyebrow rings. 2 eyebrow rings, okay? And what they would do is on Tuesdays they would do 2 for $25. So you get 2 piercings for $25, and you have to pay for the jewelry. I spent in total $50 for both of these, including the jewelry. And like at the time I was like, oh my god, $50, but in reality I just spent $50 on this jewelry alone, getting this pierced. So the fact that I spent $50 on the piercing and the jewelry, to me, is like a problem. You don't have to pay an arm and a leg for your piercings, but at the same time, if it's cheap and it sounds too good to be true, it's because it is. It's cheap and it's too good to be true. So they pierced me with 2 eyebrow rings, which is not the proper jewelry to put in your double forward helix. If you get like your daith or your what is this called? Your daith or your rook pierced. This is your daith. This is, you can't even see. Anyway, if you get your daith or your rook pierced, the anatomy of that part of your ear, they're gonna pierce it with a curved barbell. Anything else, your tragus, your cartilage, your forward helix, your conch, they should pierce it with a straight barbell. I'm not a piercing professional, but what I do know is the straight barbell, if it turns, it could spin all day. It's not going to change the anatomy of the piercing hole. It's not going to apply any type of different pressure or anything. It's just going to spin and spin and spin, and it's not going to do anything. The minute you put a curved barbell in a piece of, in a piercing that doesn't need it, what's going to happen is, say it's sitting right here. This is the hole and this is the jewelry. This pressure right here is different from this pressure, and that's different from this pressure, and that's different from this pressure. And then the jewelry is still going to turn. Okay, so now there's different pressure on the front than there is in the back. Now there's different pressure on top than on the bottom. Now this is different pressure, this is different pressure, and you're just gonna have a hard time trying to heal it. Your body's natural reaction anytime you get any type of piercing is to want to reject whatever it is that you've put into your body, because it's a foreign object. If you get some nice quality jewelry that's also the right type of jewelry for that piercing. So if it's straight and it's not applying any different pressure, it's more or less gonna sit in that hole and be quiet. So your body is gonna go through, okay, what is this? We need to get rid of it. Eventually it'll accept it and it'll start to heal around it. Whereas if you have like some cheaper jewelry and the pressure of that piercing is constantly changing, your body is never gonna get over the rejection phase, because the jewelry is making a lot of noise in your ears, causing a lot of problems. It's probably causing some type of skin irritation depending on what type of metal it is. And so your body is never gonna accept it and then start healing around it. You're gonna have a lot harder and a lot longer of a time trying to heal a piercing that doesn't have the proper jewelry in it and that also has some type of cheap metal in it. Now, some people could get cheap metal. I follow some people on YouTube that get cheap metal put in their piercings all the time, and they get hoops put in their ears all the time, and they don't have no problems. But I'm telling you from my experience, it was a big old problem. And if you're new to piercings and you don't know if your body is gonna be okay with the cheap jewelry, just pay for the extra, pay for the titanium. It's gonna be a little bit more, but it's gonna be worth it, because you're not gonna have to go through the hassle of trying to heal a piercing that doesn't want to heal because your body doesn't like the jewelry that's in it. So they pierced me with 2 eyebrow rings. Literally about a week later, I had a bump on the bottom one. And I went up there and I'm like, hey, I have a bump. I don't know what's going on. They told me to put tea tree oil on it. They didn't tell me to dilute it. They just told me to put tea tree oil on it. So I'm like, okay, I would. Went to the store, was putting tea tree oil on it. Next thing you know, it started getting a bump on the one on the back started getting bigger. Then it started getting a bump on the front. Then the one on the top started getting a bump, and it was just a mess. So I was assuming that it was the jewelry that was in my ear. So I came home for like winter break. Went to the mall, bought some 14 karat gold jewelry. When I went back up to my school, I asked the guy to change it. And instead of him looking at the bumps on my ear and saying, sweetheart, this jewelry is too small for me to put on your ear, he took my money, took me in the back, and shoved the jewelry onto my ear. I didn't know that, I really didn't have a good gauge on how big the bumps were. And I didn't know that the jewelry was too small, because I can't really see this other than from the front. And instead of him telling me like, baby girl, this is too little, it's gonna irritate these bumps, it's gonna squish it, whatever, he literally just shoved it onto my ear and sent me out the door and took my money. So literally like an hour later, I was on my way back to campus, and this bottom one, I felt it just digging into my skin. It hurt so bad. So the next day, because at this point it was like 7 or 8 o'clock, the next day I started calling around trying to find a different piercing shop with some different jewelry that wasn't that hypoallergenic surgical stainless steel that they pierced me with, to change it. That's when I got introduced to Neo Metal, which is titanium jewelry. That is the only jewelry that I will get pierced with now. Is titanium, or you know, like 14 karat gold or whatever, but the titanium is the more affordable option between the two. So that's when I first got introduced to the Neo Metal. He gave me the longest bar, put this purple opal on the bottom, and he pretty much told me, he was like, sweetheart, if these bumps get any bigger, I don't have any longer jewelry to put in here, and you're gonna have to get medical clearance for me to take it out at that point. And I'm like, okay. He gave me some tips on how to, you know, clean it, some stuff to put on it, and to come back, if the bumps went down, to come back and downsize the bar. 2 or 3 weeks later, the top one started getting irritated, and I had to go to another piercing shop and have them change it, because the guy that did the bottom one, he was on maternity leave, and he told me he was going on maternity leave, and you know, actually recommended the second shop that I went to. And I felt so bad for the girl, because I still had the gold jewelry in this one, and it was digging into my ear, and the bump had kind of grown around the bottom of the gem, and it was pretty much like stuck in my ear. And she was trying to be so nice and gentle and take it out, and I told her, I'm like, girl, if you have to rip this jewelry out of my ear, that's fine, because it hurts so bad that like I would rather you just rip it out and get it over with than it be in my ear any longer than it needs to be. So she finally got it out, put the Neo Metal in my ear, and put the flat opal top on it, and sent me on my way. So I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to put the pictures on the left side of the screen, cover the left side of the screen if you don't want to see it. I had the biggest bumps on both of these piercings, on the front and on the backs. and I had to literally rotate between water and sea salt. I would do more sea salt than water so that the sea salt would kind of get thick, and sit it on the inside and the outside for like hours. Then I would rotate between dilating some tea tree oil and leaving that on there overnight, or like all there, whatever. I didn't wash it off. Then I would take the red Advils and I would sit them in water for like 10 or 15 minutes to soften them up, crush them, leave them on overnight, and then wash it off. So that's what I had to do to get the bumps down. And whenever they would go down and stay down for a couple of weeks, I would go immediately back to the piercing shop and have them downsize the jewelry so that it wasn't getting caught on anything or just getting snatched. But I had the hardest time trying to heal this, first of all because they pierced it with the wrong jewelry. It was way too long. It was not good quality metal. It was not the proper jewelry for this piercing. Then once I switched the jewelry, I was still having a hard time getting it to heal because just of the location of the piercing. Anytime I smile, this part of my ear raises. So when I first got this piercing done, and like I was walking around campus, people, hey Shama, and I'm like, hey, and they looking at me like, what's wrong with you? I didn't want to smile because this would raise, and then this all would just be sore and tender. Sleeping, I'm a side sleeper. The minute I roll over on this side, this part of my ear was getting dinged, and I can't tell you how many times I accidentally hit this part of my ear in my sleep, and my spirit would leave my body. Putting my hair in a ponytail and like going like this, you don't realize how much you hit your ear trying to put your hair in a ponytail. Putting a headband on, putting earmuffs on, anything of the sort, because this piercing is not only in the front of my ear but on the outside of my ear. It was always getting hit. And then I was talking to this guy at the time. He had, I don't think he had like an afro or something. It wasn't like braids and it wasn't dreads. It was, he had hair though. And I remember at one point in time we were sitting in my car, and I leaned this way and he leaned this way, just whatever. His hair got caught in my piercing and he snatched his head away from me before I could even open my mouth and say anything. And my soul left my body. I thought my entire earlobe had gotten ripped off. And of course my piercing started bleeding. And that had happened a couple of times. That wasn't the first time that had happened. It had happened like 3 or 4 or 5 times. And it would be like, bro, I just told you last week, if you feel your hair get caught on something, do not yank your head away from me. So even stuff like that, where like somebody else's hair would get caught in it and they would snatch their head away from me and pull this jewelry. I had the hardest time trying to heal it, just because, like I said, getting it done, I did enough wrong to expect to have a struggle to heal it. But then just the location too on top of that made it that much worse to heal. So I think that's pretty much all I have to tell you guys. I personally wouldn't recommend this piercing. I love it. I think it looks super cute. Healing it, I would not recommend it. And even the bumps that I had on it, I refused to take this out because I knew I was not going to get it pierced again. I didn't want to get it pierced again because I had just had such a bad time trying to heal it the first time that I knew I wasn't going to want to go through again. So I'm like, we need to just figure out whatever it is so that we can heal it right the first time, because I'm not doing it a second time. But I also still wanted to keep the piercing. So it was just a struggle. Whereas with this, because it's more tucked into my ear, I don't really have any problems with this. I will say, digging into my ear like right here to, you know, scratch or whatever, sometimes I end up hitting this. But other than that, it's more or less tucked into my ear. I have not washed my hair yet. The back of this jewelry is literally sitting on the end of my ear. So I'm nervous to see how that's going to work. But the piercing overall is a lot smoother than this one. So I would recommend your Conch over your Forward Helix any day. But I think that's all I have for you guys. Oh, I forgot to rate this piercing. This, I would give the first piercing, I got them done on the same day. The first one she did, I would give this like a, I would give it like a 4. This, I would give like a 9, because my ear was already sore and it was already tender from the first one. And then just going in with the second one, I was like, and then the overall healing experience, I would give it a 10. Like, this was not fun. But other than that, that's all I have for you guys. Thank you for watching. If you watch this whole video and you haven't subscribed, make sure that you hit that subscribe button. Also hit the bell notification so that you get notified when I post every Sunday at 5 p.m. Give this a big thumbs up if you like this type of content, if you like me sharing my piercing experiences with you guys. If you have any questions about anything, leave a comment down below. It's no problem. I will share whatever information I have to share with you guys. Follow me on social media at Sham the Baddest. Click that link in the description so that you can hear my music. And other than that, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.